Boy, high school can be pretty damn stressful. What's up, guys? As you know, I did all the Scream movies, and I have been getting just a bombardment of requests to do the TV series. And I remember ages ago, in one of my Drumdums Drive videos, I originally wasn't even interested in watching it. But then I had heard rumblings that it was actually pretty decent. Not great, but decent. And so I thought, hey, I'll give this show a shot. I watched it. Time went on, and I don't remember things that well, especially if time goes on. So I rewatched it again this last week, actually over a few days. And I'm really glad I did. And here we are. I'm finally going to give you my review of season 1 of Scream. I haven't watched season 2 yet, so let's get into this. Now, there's really a lot going on in this first season. If you really break it down in the meat and potatoes, it's really about this guy, Brandon James, I'd say 20 years ago, and he asked this girl, Maggie, out on a date, and Brandon is deformed, so it didn't go as planned, and he was ridiculed, and so he goes on this killing spree. And eventually Brandon is killed. So we fast forward, and Maggie has a daughter. Her name is Emma. And really what kicks this thing off is there's this viral tape of these lesbians, one of them being the character of Audrey and her girlfriend Rachel. And so this event really sets this whole new killing spree into motion. Right away in the first episode, there's this girl Nina, and this first scene really feels like the Scream movies that we know and love. You know, she gets this phone call, and it is Ghostface, and she's dating this kid Tyler, and eventually Tyler's head ends up falling in her hot tub. And so there's this big investigation for the first kill, but then, as you know, more and more kills start happening. Now, before I go any further, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. So if you haven't seen season 1 of Scream, then I would suggest turning this off. And the first thing I gotta say out the gate is all the episodes, there's 10 of them, and they're all really interesting. It seems like in every episode there is a new plot device or plot element that is added to keep the story moving forward, to keep it going. And also there are quite a few twists and turns. One segment that I really enjoyed was in the middle when Emma's boyfriend Will is kidnapped really and tortured, and then you go through this whole ordeal, and then Will is saved. But then in the very next episode, Will is chopped to bits by a piece of farming equipment. And I must say that segment of the show really surprised me, because they went through all this to save the guy, and then the next episode, let's kill him anyway. And what's great about that is it makes the show unpredictable. So really no character is safe. Also, I have to mention Audrey and Noah. Those two characters really are just fantastic. They keep the show going. Every time they are in a scene, they steal it. Noah really is us. He is the horror fan, and he always makes these really cool observations about horror and what would happen in this scene, even though it's actually really happening in the Scream world. And Noah and Audrey, they just have such a cool relationship with each other.
Wait, where are you on that list?
Duh, I'm making the list.
Nice resting creep face.
Back at ya.
Thank you.
So that alone lets you know that this whole thing is really self-aware. We're gonna tell you this dramatic story, but we're gonna have fun while we're doing it. Also, there are about 1 million red herrings in this season. They constantly want to divert you away from who the real killer is throughout this whole show. In one episode, they'll say, ooh, it could be this guy. Ooh, it could be this guy. And then, you know, that's the way it is in every single episode. It's like every director of the episode said, okay, could you give me a resting creep face real quick so that way the audience will think that you are the killer? And I must say, by the time we find out who the killer is, I was a bit disappointed, because there is a scene in the middle of the show where Piper is being attacked by Ghostface. And so to me, that was just a cop-out. In that scene, you thought immediately, oh, Piper's not the killer. And when I first watched the show, I didn't remember them addressing this, and I was waiting for it this time, and they do address it like the last line of the last episode. And really, it's just a setup for season 2. To me, I thought that was kind of lazy, and I thought they could have done a much better job with the misdirection. I thought the first Scream movie did it perfectly. And if anything, this is a lesson that you don't always have to have just a complete surprise for it to be a satisfying conclusion. When the killer is revealed in the first Scream movie, I wasn't really that surprised, but I was completely satisfied because of how entertaining that third act was and how it all unfolded. And I can't really fault just Scream for trying to point the finger at every single person in a whodunit. Really, the only movie that pointed the finger at a suspect, and that suspect was actually the killer, was Terror Train, I think. That's the only movie I can think of where they went out of their way to point the finger at one suspect, and it was that guy. Also, there are quite a few, I guess, subplots in this that kind of take you out of it, especially the love triangles. And let's face it, this is MTV. You are gonna have those romance elements to satisfy your teen audience, and a lot of us adult guys, we're gonna get bored by that. I have no problem with romance in movies and TV, but it has to be compelling. And when you have to shoehorn a love scene in every other episode and it just looks like there's no chemistry whatsoever, to me that can take me out of what's going on. And lastly, I have to mention Ghostface's voice in this. The original guy that did the voices in the movies was much more effective. However, the guy in this movie does not sound scary at all, and a lot of the lines that they give him are pretty cringeworthy. But anyway, guys, I would say for a rating, I would definitely give this a high Humdrum, almost a purchase worthy. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to season 2, and I think season 2 comes on Netflix in a week or two. So that way I can just binge watch the whole thing and I'll get a review out for that. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Scream? Looking forward to hearing them. Make sure you join the Killer Flicks Facebook group where we talk horror all day, every day. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, and Drumdum out.